And then it was after the wedding.
After the wedding.
What do I get in the outcome? Stop me. Whoever gets more
This group is scary.
Welcome back to Life Rugby. My name is Arafat, your host, and today I'm joined by my boy Ojithibera Kandjou. What's up, bro?
All in all, man. How's it?
Podcast, man. So we planned this episode for a long time, but then I decided that okay, let's wait for the perfect moment. So we're starting out with a new series on the podcast. We're gonna call it In Their Own Words. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have people who we feel contributed or are contributing to rugby positively or have impacted rugby in a proper way, and then we're going to give them the platform to just share their story. I think this is the reason why we want to do this is just rugby is so far from the fans, we want to bridge that gap, and the way that we can bridge that gap is to have people share their stories so that we can just personally connect with them and get to know them on a personal level. That's why we brought their life into the rugby. That's why that's actually why the show is called Life Rugby.
Yeah.
Yes, because we just want to bring the personal aspect. We want to bring the rugby story and also get to know the personal aspect of why did the person choose rugby and all that. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. It's been long overdue.
It's been long overdue.
Yeah, it's like every day we've been talking about it, and then something comes up, and but we're here today.
I remember I actually wanted to shoot the last year. I wanted to do a day in Henrik and Jood's life.
Yes.
And I think that was for semis.
Just before the semi-final.
Before the semis, the last game, and something came up. But something that we're also looking forward to, man, just to like what it takes for you guys to just be on the field and to play rugby, to do all, to do all that. Mm-hmm. And so, like, tell us, bro, like, how do you get to rugby, man? Like primary school, secondary school, where exactly did rugby come into the picture?
Rugby for me came in high school. So I was at the school, primary school, St. Barnabas.
Yeah.
So when I was in primary school, they did not have any rugby. I did not even know what rugby was. I had a brother of mine who was in Grootfontein, was at development here, so he knew a bit about rugby. Francois Kandjou. He passed on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I had a brother who would always play rugby, and all I would see is just this hooligans running behind the ball and crashing each other basically. And I was more into soccer, so then I remember going to Jan Mohr. I don't even know there was a school Jan Mohr.
Yeah.
Everybody we just walked out of the staff room back, and the applications were sent through the school, and we got acceptance through the school, and we were running out of the office. Everybody's excited. We're going to Jan Mohr. I don't even know what Jan Mohr was.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I forgot the name, and I'm walking in the streets, and someone asked me like, "So where are you going next year for high school?"
Yeah.
I was like, Jan Jonker. Because that's the only Jan I knew, man. I was like, Jan Jonker. And people looked at me weirdly, man, like, you're excited about going to Jan Jonker? And then the first day was a thing of, we're driving to the hostel now, and then there's like a turn, one obviously going this side, the other going this side. And I'm like, okay, but Jan Jonker is this side, we turn this side. Okay, probably we're going to buy some snacks before we go to school. Then I just got into Windhoek West. I see this humongous school, and so white orientated and all that. So I was like, I don't know how to feel about it, but this is, I guess, my home for the next 5 years. Grade 8.
The thing with high school also, to say it's my home for the next 5 years was tricky because grade 10 filtered out.
Yeah, exactly. So you're like also trying to count the points that do I make it after this past this bridge. So and like when we got there, grade 8, I was someone that just played ball. I was a soccer player, and I got there. The only teams they had was in the 19 and under 17
for soccer.
For soccer, yeah. So the only other thing we had Fanny Fansel. Yeah. He was just about rugby. Grade 8, whether you want it or not, if you're in the hostel, you play rugby. So I joined the sport that my brother played once upon a time that I criticized him for playing, and get onto the field, and I was go a bit fast, small, and so the first tour we had I made the under 14 team. Went to the coast. Before I went, I called my mother. I told her that, Mom, we're gonna play rugby and I need money for the tour. My mom sends me the money. We're on our way to Walvis Bible School, and there we are. I don't even get the jersey, bro. Like, I'll just water boy the whole thing. Next weekend we're going to Pieka, the one in the Spitmans. Pieka, yeah. I mean Pieka. I called my mother again. I'm like, we're going to the coast, to the south this time around. Please send the money. And the coach gave me belief, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Isaacs gave me belief. I'm like, we're going to the south this weekend. I need to go. Then we go to the south. Same situation. And I just told myself, man, this is not for me. Luckily for me, athletics came up, and I was like, no, I'm not going to play rugby.
Yeah.
I'm done with rugby. So I just did my athletics. Unfortunately, I was too young to play for the under-17s or under-19 soccer. So for high school, basically all I did was just run my 110 hurdles, my triple jump, my long jump.
Yeah.
So my grade 12 year, I told myself that I'm going to play the sport and I'm going to be the best at it.
Yeah.
Then I'm done with rugby.
What position were you playing there?
I was flanker.
Flanker.
Number 6.
Okay.
So now we basically get into trials. I just told myself, I put my mind to it that I'm going to do it. So I did it. And then first, let's say the grade 11, I was second team player, but I played like 3-4 games during my grade 11 year, the same under 19 league. And then grade 12, I just told myself I'm going to play first team. And I did just that. We played quarterfinals against HTS that year, and that's where we got knocked out. So that is where we actually, that's where I was introduced to United.
Yeah.
So the finals, the Hage Kingdom field was occupied. So we played I
remember we also used to have some games, especially quarters.
Yes, quarterfinals.
We had a lot of games at
So we played at United Sports Field. So after the game, I was walking with Felix, Opa, and
Opa was Jan Mohr.
Yeah, Jan Mohr, yeah, was Jan Mohr geweest. So walking just after the game, we just lost to HTS. And then this white guy walks up to me and he's like, man, ek het julle gesien speel en ek moet sê, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
This is Trustco United. I mean, that back then was not Trustco. This is United. We definitely would like to get in contact with you guys. And
yeah,
I was like, yo, like,
but like, so when you were playing, right? You in high school, first team, Jan Mohr captain. You haven't touched Academy Week or
no, I never made
Academy Week.
No, I never made any of those teams.
So, like, as an 18-year-old kid, your drive to play rugby, was it fueled by you attempting to also just make it to the national team at some point, or what was the thought process behind, like, I'm going to study, and while studying, I'm going to play rugby team?
To be quite honest, playing high school rugby was for me just to prove a point to myself.
Okay.
I did not even know there was a United, a Suburbs, a Rehoboth. I knew nothing about rugby, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things that I told myself that I want to do this because I failed at it drastically in my upcoming in this school.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just going to do it for the sake of it. And now me coming to a point where someone actually saw that I have potential and I can do it, because mind you, by then I was also playing soccer.
Yeah.
I was also still doing my athletics. I remember there was always a clash between my soccer coach and my rugby coach to say that we have a game this weekend, and the coach would not allow or anything. But for me, it was always about, I want to play soccer only. So rugby was just to prove a point. Yeah. So the dream actually came to life when I came I played my last game for Jan Mohr, and suddenly this guy walks up to me and he's asking me about what my plans are for next year.
Yeah.
And like, I'm going to varsity next year. There's nothing else that I'm going to do. And then he's just telling me that, no, we would really want you to join our club.
Yeah.
And I was like, join your club. Like, I'm looking at, and I'm, by then when we're speaking, right, I'm looking at the club in itself, and I'm in the clubhouse actually.
Yeah.
The accolades that these people have collected over the years, I'm like,
and he's rich,
and he's looking at me and he's like, he wants me to join.
Yeah.
So there's Opa and I and Felix, and I'm like, yo, guys, did you just hear?
It's so deep, man.
It's so deep, yeah.
That's why you guys are like so.
Then I called, like literally, when I got home, I called my mother. I'm like, Mom, like this guy my mother is such a huge fan of this thing called rugby. At some point, she actually wanted to push me in that direction because of my brother.
Yeah.
Then I called my mom. I'm like, this white guy came up to me, and he told me that he wants me to play for this club.
Yeah.
And then she's like, a club, a white man. I'm like, yes. Oh, okay, but take time, think it through. Like, yeah. And I was like, at that moment in time, I just felt like, I felt special in the moment because someone actually came up to me and noticed that they wanted me to be there, or came to us. I think that's where, like you said, where where we just so loyal to this rugby club. They basically made us the players that we were. So after the finals, we just, back then also they would pick us up at home, take us to the field, pick us up at home. So we didn't feel the fuzz of having to now get a hitchhike to Olympia and for practice and so forth. So it was literally just the thing of, let's just have fun while studying.
Sure.
Yeah.
And when you get to United, who are the senior players and like the pathway? How does the pathway look like for a guy who just come out of high school? And also taking into consideration that sometimes or most times the players that the clubs looked at were like, these Cravenweek guys, promises, like obviously, like let's say for example a guy like Donovan Kandjou.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was a hot topic in like transitioning from high school.
Definitely.
Who is he gonna play for and stuff? Like for you, like what's the pathway like, and how do you then prepare yourself, or what mindset did you need to have for you to get there? Considering the players who were then, like who were those players also?
I think just getting there in itself, like I said, I did not know who the hot guys were in the specific, because I didn't do much rugby research before playing rugby.
Okay.
I was literally just more involved in high school rugby, Nadia Nathan, the guys that we played with, Swain, and these are the people that we actually associated with on a, not to say on a regular basis, but on the field. After a game, you have a chat, and that's that. Because these are the people. But when I got to United, I actually started to hear about the likes of the Sebrand de Beer, Frikkie Martin, Grasneyer. When we got there, I was like, yo, I'm actually sharing a field.
So much excitement.
Yes, no, I share a field with Frikkie Martin. I was like, and I remember my very first trial at United. Prior to that, I had exams, right? So I was writing exams, and then someone came to me, walked up, Opa came to me, he's like, broer, ek het 'n Lani gesien wat groter kiet as wat jy het. And I'm like, bigger cows than me. And that was one thing that Jan Mohr, we wore shorts was during summer and so forth. So I was like, there's no way. And then I saw Sebrand de Beer. Like when he told me about it, when I just saw it, I was like, I just knew that this was the guy Opa was talking about. There was the likes of the Michael McKenzie's, Blom, the Blom brothers. So the history in itself was just overwhelming when I joined the club. And I think it made it feel even more special, the fact that they had hunted me, if I'm to put it that way. They came to me while there were so other many. I mean, I don't know what they could have told Donovan or whatnot. But when we got there, I met the likes of Philip Nashikaku.
Yeah, Philip.
Yeah, so in the first team, he was basically Philip was something else.
Philip was my senior at
Willem. No, Philip was something else. Like when I joined, like I did not know him by then, but then I wondered, like, why is this guy in the first team? And then until I watched his first game, I was like, all answers are there.
It was programmatic.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Philip is something else, man. Sure.
Yeah, no. But when we joined United, I must say there was a crop full of players. It was you had to actually work for your position.
Yeah.
It wasn't handed to you. I remember the first trial session that we had, and then Danny van Meulen, who was the coach by then, was like, Henry, I see so much potential in you, but your size is a problem. Like I was literally looking at those guys, I would look at them like this. They were huge. In the position that I played at the time, also flank, I was like...
And in that era, it was also just naturally big.
It's
not
big,
like
yes.
These guys were putting in work in the gym. They were obviously, but they were naturally big.
Those guys were humongous.
Yeah.
But I must say, I constantly looked up to Frikkie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a 6. I was a 6. I was like, I want to be that guy. I want to be that guy. If you're starting in the third team,
Right.
was like something. The talent was. I think you would compare it to Wanderers right now. That the amount of players and the quality that they have right now.
Yeah.
United was once upon a time that club, and I remember playing my very first second team cap, and Tuna was my outside center. It was also in the House of Pain in Walvis
Yeah.
against Kudus. So I, before the game, it was called the House of Pain. But back there, we're in Narrabel, not the news field that they use. Yeah. So now when we got there, or before we got there, Coach Herman is like, he looks at me
Herman
like,
Rust.
Herman Rust, yes.
Okay.
He looks at me, he's like, Henry, ek vertrou jou. Hierdie naweek soek ek 'n hat-trick.
Duh.
That was like a whole load loaded on my shoulders. I'm like, okay, dude, this is my first game. Like, you can't put me under such pressure right now. And I scored 2 tries that specific game. I was like,
Duh.
okay, maybe he saw something that I didn't myself. So I think I played 2-3 games after that. Then I got my first team cap, which was I must say one of the most
First team was in 2012.
yeah 2012 yeah
2012.
2012. That I came from the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just came from the bench, and then I never played the rest of the season. I was just a second team player. Yeah, so 2013 was basically the year that I became more of a first team contender, because part of our players, more than I think 12 or so, left for Wanderers, and I think that's when the rebuilding phase of United came to light, which was now 2013, 2014.
What's the atmosphere like in Trustco United? Like in the club itself, the rugby club? What is it like playing for United and being a part of United? Because you have it's one of the teams where you have a lot of white guys, black guys. Do you guys, was there racism, or is it systematic if there is, or like just how is it like, navigating different cultures, different background, different races, and also just being one team?
To be quite honest, even me joining United prior to that, I had a certain persona and perspective of what was happening. My mother finding out that this is actually an all white club, as they would call it, she was like, "Are you really sure that's what you want to do?" And I met the likes of Sean Dupree. We used to call him Shura Faditura. Yeah, Rudy Leuwenberg, Bean. I met Herman de Wet. We call him Saki the White.
Okay.
To be honest, joining United from afar, or looking at it from afar, I remember playing games against clubs like Falcons. They would always be like, kom spelen vir die Witmense, kom spelen vir die Witmense. But I felt home. I felt welcome. I felt really taken care of. And as I said, I never really felt a certain type of way. I was never really racially discriminated at United. It was always, or it has always been, a thing of, if you're good, you will get your spot into that first team. So culture, it is a United culture, as they would say. It's a way of life. So joining this club was at first very, very scary, because I never thought I would be good enough to actually play first team for this club.
When was your first Premier League title? When did you first win the Premier League?
2014.
2014.
2014. That was my first time. So the transition, 2011 I played as a flank, 2012 I played as a flank, and then the middle of the year, David Philander was like, you've got such a lethal step. You're so fast.
Yeah.
And obviously look at your opponents, Frikkie Martin, Morten van Krankberg, Sebrand de Beer.
Yeah.
These were the guys I was competing against the first team.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to be very honest with you. Playing first team is going to take you forever in the position that you can't play. You're way too small. And he said that, try out playing me. just give it a try. And then I had a whole back and forth with Hannes Brits, who was the guy that now introduced me to this club and told me that no, I told him that I would like to play wing this game. So he would always tell me that, maar Henry, ons het nie genoeg flank en ons het nie genoeg slotte nie. I remember the day that I decided that it's either that or nothing. Played a game against Cats at David Pasida Road. Nou, daar in die scrum, ja, dat was ook Cats. Daar in die scrums nee, gesak ek daar. When I got out of that scrum, like everything just felt hot because I was playing lock that game. After the game, I just told Hannes, if you're not going to give me the opportunity, unfortunately, I can't play anymore. Then Hannes was like, no, I'll give you a try. I'll give you a run next game.
I'm noticing that you're just a give.
You know, I was all or nothing. All of nothing. Yeah. So Hannes gave me the whole platform, the game after, and he said, okay, can spell wing. I think it was Polly. Then I played wing that game, and I scored like 3-4 tries on wing.
Yeah.
And then Coach Herman said that the next weekend we're driving to the coast. I'm part of the second team. I think it was Stefan Lowe, someone that got injured or something. I can't recall exactly. So he started me in the second team. That's when I scored my 2 tries after he asked for a hat trick. Ever since then, I never looked back. I never played third team again, no fourth team. I was literally just a second team player.
So at United at that time, what was competition like? What was the competition like at wing at that time? Obviously, they had Philip Mashikaku was also part of it.
Yeah, Philip Mashikaku was there. Donovan was there. I mean, Nandi was there. Donovan came, I think, 2 or 3 years later. There was Stefan Lowe, was also there, a wing. There was also Jan Mohr was also a wing. That was power, strength, and everything. Yeah. So there were quite a number. Mohr played second team though, so he was one of the wings at the second team. There was quite a number of well wings. Yeah, it was basically just you. I mean, if David Philander was also part of the squad, who was outside yet, we would advise you to do such a thing. It already speaks volumes of the quality that was there. Yeah, I remember I got hurt during a Wanderers derby game as well. So I came back a total different player. And Jood Opperman came and he said that Mr. Marie center spelen. Yeah, so, but prior to that, I was still center wing. When we won the league in 2014, I was playing wing. I was playing wing, and then you didn't have a choice and played me on outside center my very first game. I remember like it was yesterday. Felix was the scrum half. I was the outside center. So I remember we were also practicing sevens at the national team. 2013, the likes of the Arthur Bower, Sean Dupree, who were basically the first team of United, left for Wanderers. Now while practicing sevens, and the guys like name the team for the derby. I remember I think it was a Wednesday evening. Name the team for the derby. They'll be like, this V. And back then Wanderers, I think 15 of the 23 was the national team players. Yes. So they started naming the team. Then they came to the number 13, Henry. It's like I remember everybody laughed at me like. So it was Felix firstly and then me. Everybody laughed like. I said, Jay, what's that? Op 13. Can you want Trump? Yo. I remember sending a message at like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. on our WhatsApp group. I can't recall the exact words that I said. And then Vilmar was like, Henry slap, there's nog net a game. So I went to bed that day. I woke up. I don't even sleep. I slept at I think 4 or 5. And then I woke up at around 9 o'clock. Yeah. So the whole day I was like, I had a running stomach. I'm just thinking, Johan Tromp was a number man. Like my opposite number was Johan Tromp, and by then we had Waka Kabambiade on our side. We had Kaffer.
Waka had come from Falcons now.
I think he came out of retirement. He joined. I think you just invited him as well.
2014 also.
We had Claude Bauer. We would call him the better Bauer because Arthur Bauer had left for Wanderers. The rivalry was just like, I see on the Bauer instead of Claude Bauer. We had Kaffer, Johan. What was the surname? I just know it's Johan, but I can't actually recollect the surname. So that derby on that specific day, I remember it was a wet afternoon. Yeah. And Johan Tromp came running onto me. It's like, yo, Kaneki. So I made the first tackle. wasn't very confident in it, but I stopped him.
You stopped.
Hey, and then I just I remember holding his head down on the ground like.
Oh, wait.
I was trying to make myself feel good, eh? So it's kind of
arrived now.
Yeah, the second time again, then he said, then he looked at me, he's like, Isal no sin. He came again. I did the same. I was like, he's sach, man. When I said that, that's when he was like, no, this boy is up for it. So now he got angry, and I was just usually when I make my first tackle in a game, I'm certain that it's gonna be a good day.
Oh.
So the fact that I make my first and second on this national team player, it's gonna be a good day.
Sure.
I think after the third tackle, he got angry. I remember I think they swapped him for, was it Emil Beitenbach was I think the 12, and that they swapped him as well. And then I remember making a comment like, you can't handle me, hey? Like I was trying to get under his skin. You can't handle me, hey? And then he swapped back. We won the game at the end of the day, and I must say, like, if I'm to speak highlights of my rugby career, that was by far one of my best rugby games I've ever played.
What was it like after the game? Like, did you guys share beer? Obviously, you shared beer after that.
Yeah, obviously we went with Jan Trom. Jan Trom wasn't very impressed with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was, we greeted each other, and that was that.
Do you want to catch?
Yeah, the man I hate catch. But after that, I think few games after that, we kind of got to know each other, or I got to know him, because these are people that we looked up to as young rugby players. You always wanted to do what they could do.
Of all the coaches you've worked with,
Jood, Danny Vermeulen, worked with Robbie, Dixon, Coach Caro. Who of all those coaches stood out for you? Who would you say was the one that really, really, really defined your career?
Well, Coach Jood, for me, out of all the rugby coaches that I've worked with, was a standout, because I was in a place where I didn't know what type of a rugby player I was, right?
Okay.
And it was one of those believe in yourself, and that's one thing that most people don't know. You look at the club like Suburbs, who currently where he's currently at. I can tell you right now, he's going to do a transformation that that I might have to take my words back, but the type of coach that he is, he's one that brings out the best in you.
Yeah.
He's one that he sees talent and just doesn't necessarily work on the talent. He just works on you as an individual. So he puts you into places like, I mean, I was an outside center. I was a wing. And then he just said that, obviously under the guidance of Les Bogart, may his soul continue resting in peace. I was a wing, but at sevens levels, I was a center, right? Which is a total different ballgame. So discussion between the two of them, I don't know how they went, but I just saw myself, Henry, Dizu3, number 13. I'm like, I'm HK 14. I don't know about this whole center thing. And also,
that was the shout out from Adi Savia, right?
Yeah, there was HK 14 years. It was Adi Savia's situation, yeah. So personally, I was like, I'm no center. And I've seen what happens in the middle of the park. And back then, I must say also, my defensive duties were not really the best. And that's where I say every coach brings a certain element that I played with, and of course under Robbie Dixon, who just gave me the belief that I would say somehow sharpened my defensive skills.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things. But if I'm to sum up when it comes to coaching, I would not give anyone too much credit, but my confidence kind of grew so much under Jood, because he basically threw me in the deep end and asked me to swim, and everything just started falling into place after that.
So, coming from a Premier League win, did you see UNAM coming in 2015?
Not really. Again, a very good example. UNAM. When you look at the UNAM team, we look at the likes of Papewa, Donovan Kandjou. There was also Johnny, Joseph. He was also at United. Part of the guys that were in that UNAM, or few.
Yeah.
Papsi, for example. Papsi was one of our 13 players. And again, we spoke earlier in the show about the quality that United had.
Yeah.
Papsi was one of our 13 players. And then basically went to UNAM, and he became UNAM's go-to guy.
Yeah.
And it just speaks volumes about the quality that United had. But I must say, I never saw it coming.
Yeah.
And I actually did not feel the full wrath of UNAM's rugby.
Yeah.
Because within the year 2015 to 2016, that's when I kind of had my injury situation. But I played them once at the UNAM campus.
Yeah. That time it was the Red Army.
That was the Red Army. It's like
stadiums were getting packed.
you're playing UNAM at home,
Yeah.
but you feel that they are at home.
Yeah.
And it was just the Red Army. And Red Army wasn't a big, huge number, hey? So it's just a few, 5-6 guys.
Few passionate guys.
Few passionate guys. It just made it seem as if you were...
What? Get sorted with a first aid.
The briefcase.
What made them special? What was it about them? How hard was it as a player being playing against these guys?
I think they were passion driven.
Yeah.
If you look at that UNAM squad, to be honest, is a few of the players that were overlooked. I would say they had talent. They played as a unit, and they just had a sense of belief and a sense of making the UNAM jerseys their own. Right? You look at the likes of the Bimbo Bai, well rugby brain, Donovan Kandjou, Mai Peter Sheriko. These were guys that not only went to great high schools, but that were passionate about the game, and they kind of adapted so well to the UNAM game, and they had I must say, again, may his soul continue resting in peace. Jeffrey, Coach Jeff just made UNAM his home. I mean, he used to accommodate UNAM players at his own personal residence in Commersdal, because I remember we hosted
Kami Max and Kami Max and V.
Kami Max, so many. I remember we had.
They were my wife's neighbor. My wife used to live next to them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we had parties at that residence. We had parties like after a UNAM game. You knew that Anskan does. Yeah, Kola. So it was one of those things where, even though he did not accommodate them at his own residence, he made sure that they had residents on campus. My pieces stayed on campus, Donovan stayed on campus. But then again, it was one of those things where, as a rugby player, you just want to play rugby. You don't want to be focusing on all the other things around rugby. And Jeffrey was that guy for UNAM. And I think that's what made them special, in the sense that your only worry should be playing rugby and nothing else. He was like a father, even for some of us that never played for UNAM. We played for Tisan and so forth, but you felt warm, you felt at home. He just made, I mean, if all else is taken care of, what excuse do you have?
You'll thrive.
Yes.
Who stood out for you?
UNAM players.
That 2015, 2017.
I would say Lorenzo Louis.
Sure.
Lorenzo Louis was one of the guys that gave us headaches after headache. I remember the one time we were playing, we had a game against UNAM. So on our WhatsApp group, we were chatting. Robbie Dixon was also there on the group. Now he was our number 10. And I'm like, Robbie, please, this time around, don't kick. Because he was a put guy. If he gets the ball and sees nothing is happening, he just exits. So I'm like, if you're gonna kick, at least kick out. And then I remember Robbie telling me, "Hey, what did the feel on me? Focus up your defense, focus up your what." And I'm just like, dude, I thought we just offering, like we just chatting, right, as teammates.
Well, he went here.
He went direct. I'm like, okay. Sorry for that. And I remember the article that Andrew posted in the newspaper. There was a picture of Van Maar Rest with his legs in the air and Lorenzo Louis with the ball. So I took a picture of the article and I posted on the group. I was like, this is why I said don't kick. I mean, it was all jokes and everything, but yeah, it's
Lorenzo was crazy.
Lorenzo was something else. I'm fortunate to say I've played with that guy and played against him, and I must say he's by far one of the best fullbacks of this era. Yes, I must say.
Definitely. I don't think. I don't even think that's debatable. Like that guy was at his peak. Yeah, he was just something else. It was like a menace. Like first defender, always one-on-one.
Yeah, it was never. You not getting. I'm yet to see Lorenzo being tackled on the first attempt.
Yeah.
Like he was that good.
Yeah,
He was that good.
and the funny thing is that, like, say for United, for example, Rian van Zyl was also dominating.
Yeah, no, Rian was.
He was also
Schmigel.
dominating. Who would, from the players that you've played with at United, who would you say then stands out?
Shoot, that's a hard one. Player that really stood out for me in my United days. You know, I think that question is position based. Like I would honestly say that when it comes to players that I kind of gelled with so well, position wise, just a few from the top of my head. I would say Martin Cornier. I would say the combination between Bimo and I was exceptional, 12-13.
Yeah.
And then as a wing, I must say the best center that I basically played alongside was Tuna Mtenya. He just made the work so much more easier. All you needed to do is just catch the ball and score tries.
Yeah.
So when it comes to combination, I think Bimbo and I complemented each other so well. In the 12-13, at times he would throw me into the deep end.
Yeah.
He says he has the tackle and doesn't, but I must say he also made rugby easy. If there is one forward that really stood out for me is Morne Blom. He was this guy that just made life easy for the backline. He not necessarily that he's at every breakdown point or anything, but he just made sure that the ball is secured tackle wise. I'm sure if you had a fly half that could not tackle, he made it worth the while. But all in all, like I said, it's position based.
Yeah.
Firstly, as a wing, Tuna made life beautiful. My two centers pairing that I had over the years, that would most definitely be Martin Cornier and Bimbo Bai. I think they just complimented me so well.
What's the most painful thing that you've ever experienced on the rugby field?
Oh.
Like what made you go home and cry, or just smack something off the table or something like that?
I think the most painful was my injury. Yeah. I never really had season-long injuries and so forth ever since high school. So when I tore my MCL, I remember it was like I think around the 12th or 14th minute in a derby against Wanderers. So I literally the medic came on the field. I remember it so clearly. Medic came on the field, and then I just said, "No, just strap it. I'm fine." And obviously it's the adrenaline and all that.
Yeah.
I tried running, continued playing. Like literally, they took me off the field, and immediately I wanted to come back. And I think I got the ball again, and I just quickly passed, but I could feel that something was off. So immediately the coach also called for a sub, and I went off. So now as the day went by, it started the adrenaline started coming out. So I started to feel the pain, like it was getting severe. And I thought, as per usual, it was one of those weekend injuries.
Yeah.
Late seer, slit and nickel. I remember Tuesday, Monday there was no practice because we had a hard game against Wanderers.
Yeah.
And Tuesday I went to practice and I tried running and I just couldn't. I jogged and I couldn't. And then I remember was it Felix that said, just get it checked out. Make sure you get it checked out. And I was like, doctors lie to people. When you get there, I'm sure they'll even tell you that it's a whole year again.
Yeah.
So literally that was the case. I went to the doctor and the doctor told me that, no, you have a grade 3 clear.
Sure.
And 4 being totally off.
Yeah.
Right? So you have a grade 3 clear and you will not be in action. So you now have to make a choice. Are we going to operate or are we going to rehabilitate? And then I was like, what's the turnaround time? It's like rehabilitation, you could get 6 months to, let's say, a year without rugby. But an operation, but rehabilitation obviously being that it will carry you longer.
Yeah.
And the operation is like within 3-4 months, say 5 months at most, you ought to be able to do it again. So because I really wanted to play, I was like, can you go for the operation option? And he was like, no, I won't allow you to make the choice right now. Go home, think about it, and then we take it from there. I swear I got home and I was like, I'm convinced that this is what I want. Took like 2-3 days to decide, and I spoke to my mother about it, and we had the discussion, and she was like, I think it was around April or March when I got that injury.
Yeah.
And she was like, but you're young. Why do you want an operation now? I then decided that, okay, let me rehab it. I think that was not the most painful. The most painful was after 2 or 3 weeks after, I had to go watch rugby.
Sure.
And I'm sitting there in the stands, waiting I like watching rugby, obviously. And there's just so much that you would wish you could do, and you just can't. That was my first real injury. And it was so bad that for the next 2-3 games, I could not watch rugby.
Just because of
just because of that. Because it was one of those things that is so painful that you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And I went home, and I think that's when Kola really started.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kola. After that, Kola really started. And I remember that year, in September or so, after the league had ended, I went to Swakop to go live with my brother. Then with a soft life. It's like you literally wake up and scholars, prize.
But that time it's just because of that.
Yeah, it's like it got a toll on me, man. It really got to me, and so that hang came after now the actual recovery. Now I had too much weight, and my knees also could not stand the weight.
Yeah.
I was not practicing at all, so I started with rehab slowly but surely, and I started making sense of the situation that it's either I can end the whole rugby career right now, or perhaps try and rehab and get back to where I was, where I left it. And I made the right call and started practicing again.
You guys, it's rugby stories. You just
Rugby is deep. I think most people look at it and think that it's not a sport.
It's not a sport.
But I must say, even right now, after retirement, it's one of those things you actually miss so much about your life.
That's actually what I want to speak about now. Yeah. But the reason why I say that, like you guys have rugby stories, is that you know, all this blood, sweat, and tears, basically, and you guys not even getting paid.
Yeah, no, that is the ugly truth of it.
So we look at it from like money, but I think it's for you guys, it's deeper. It's so deep, and like, what is it?
I think when there comes a certain point in your rugby career where you really just want to. I don't know if it's give back, or I think it's like a drug also. You get addicted to this thing called rugby.
Yeah.
You if it's not around you, you feel so empty.
Yep.
Yeah, rugby is I think you would call it a kryptonite. It's like a weakness. Yeah, you tell yourself, like, I've been retiring, to be honest.
Yeah,
I've been retiring, and every year I come up with an excuse. You tell yourself that this year you not playing enough rugby. This year you were injured. This year, next year is the year. I'd not been in a league this year, so why retire?
Yeah,
it's just one of those things that, unfortunately, life just catches up with you, and you just can't keep up with it anymore.
Yeah,
but it doesn't take away the fact that it's beautiful. It's just a way of life. It's just, and if you do it with the right people, if you do it with the right club, I mean, we have seen 20-year-olds that go into retirement because of poor coaches' decisions and so forth. But United made rugby worthwhile. I must highlight that.
Sure.
It was really home for me. It was one of the most hardest decisions I had to make.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm not gone. I'm still very much. Yes, I'm still part of the game. Whether it be coaching, analyzing, whatever it is, and home is where the heart is, which is rugby.
How's the commentating, guys? I see that you're with NBC now, and also with Absolute Rugby. You commentated the finals with Potty, and then also doing Absolute on weekly
on weekly.
with Nick. How's that been?
No, it brings you closer to the game. It still kind of keeps you curious about what's happening in the field of rugby and where rugby is heading.
Yeah.
It's like a child, man. When once you have a child, whether the boy is 50, 60, whether he's 5, as a parent you still just want to be around this thing. So commentating, I must say, I remember my first game, and it's rough, my guy. So now you have Chester in your ear, you have CJ in your ear, you have Potty, and it's like, camera one, focus, camera one. And now you have...
So as a commentator, you have access to it.
You can hear everything happening around, the whole broadcast of the situation. You have it all in your ear. So now, in the same breath, you now have to also look at Ara running throughout the field, and you're like, Ara with the ball, what, and then he's like, camera 3, focus. And then you're like, oh, okay. At some point, when I started, it was like, you pause for a while, and you're like, was that me? And then they'll be like, no, you just continue doing. So it's nerve-wracking at first.
Yeah, because I experienced it the finals last year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what we had, I only had access to you and Potty.
Yeah.
And then when we were doing the touchline analysis, I only had access to Nick and David Philander here.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we would go to you guys. I never thought that the commentator has everything.
No, you hear everything.
Sure.
Like literally, it's a thing of when the producer is talking about switch to camera 4, camera 3, give me a insight, camera what, you hear all that, and then in the same breath you also have to focus on what you're doing.
Is it like a rival thing? Like, is it like hectic?
Nah, I wouldn't call it a rival thing, but at the end of the day, each production, as long as they bring the game out to the people, I think that is all that should be important.
But are people getting paid for this?
Paid for?
Like, is the TV rights, are those things, like, do we have things like that in Namibia?
I think that's way beyond my pay grade. I don't know what happens behind closed doors. I'm more of, I need to do this.
I should get CJ on the podcast and ask him those questions.
Maybe you should, yes.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, it's for me, it's just being close to the game and just making sure that the viewers get the best, if not close to the best. And NBC and NTV are doing quite a good job at that.
As an analyst, someone that's at the forefront of rugby, that speaks about rugby, that knows what's been happening in the world of rugby, what do you think about the state of rugby right now?
I think your question can be answered in two ways.
Mm-hmm.
The state of rugby, when it comes to, I still feel that there is a lot to be done when it comes to our national team.
Mm-hmm.
That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
The other way of looking at it is in the sense that the people that have been appointed, what they can or cannot do, we can't put a thumb on right now. But I like the fact that they incorporated people that were in the system, people that were affected within the system, that knows exactly how the system is run,
that have criticized the system.
So you want now to, at the end of the day, anybody that wants to be in power will tell you everything that you want to hear, but it's the doing that comes into play.
Precisely.
At the end of the day, we spoke in the past about game time for our national team. Positives, yes, it's not a test rugby, but we had a game already this year, right? Yes. So now the likes of the Jack Burgers, the Crisanders, these are people that were in the forefront as players. Now we want to see. I mean, it's very easy to speak when you're on the outside, right?
Very much.
Right now, I can
take it from us when doing podcast.
Exactly. It's very easy for me to actually say right now that no, Robbie Dixon as a United coach is not doing much as a player.
Yeah.
Who is not doing this? Who is not doing that?
Bernice is
not doing what? But until you actually wear the jacket, until you actually get there, that's when the talking starts. That's when the talking stops and the doing starts. So this is where we actually want to see now what's going to happen. Because at the end of the day, as much as there is power given, there is things that these people have to, or regulations that they need to follow for one or other reason that needs to be there. But I love the fact that these are people that complained about the system previously, and we will want to see now What are they doing? What are they putting in place to try and rectify all the errors that they saw previously as players?
Do you think we'll get there with them?
What I think is not important. What I think, to be honest, is not important. I've thought of so many things in the past.
Yeah.
I've thought of grassroots rugby. I'm an advocate for grassroots
But
rugby.
I mean, like on a personal level, like, what is the strategy? Where is rugby going?
Where rugby is heading is $1 million question, right? All that I can say is that, and that I can with confidence say is that the people that have been brought into play, the likes of the Jack, for example, I know, putting on a personal level. There has been rumors of him in his UNAM days or whatsoever, but that's not a story for me to tell. These are people that I would say will bring about somewhat a change, right? Because of the type of characters that they are, right? So at the end of the day, we also need to understand that there is limitations towards certain things, right? All I would say is that at this stage, I firmly believe, and I want to believe, that these people has the players' best interest at heart. Again, we spoke about the UNAM 2015, right? Jeffrey was there. UNAM became the team that they were because of Jeffrey. As a player, the least of your worry should be, how do I get to the field? Should be, what am I eating next? Should be, where am I sleeping? Am I getting paid, right? Yes, as much as we speak about it should be a thing of passion. Unfortunately, the world we live in doesn't somehow cater for that, right? So, as if a player's well-being is taken care of, I say this from a player's perspective because I was once there. When your needs are taken care of, it makes it so much more easier for you to wake up every morning. I mean, I used to live in Kandjou, right? When we were in the sevens setup, you drive from Kandjou, Soweto, to Windhoek Gymnasium. That's around 4 o'clock in the morning. You had a gym session at 5:30 with Frikkie Martin, and then until like 6:30. You drive back home. You had varsity. You had to go to school, and after school 6 to 8 again, you had a practice session. Some of these things were the least of our worries because somehow it was partly taken care of. You wanted to be there because there's the want, and then there's that it becomes an obligation. It becomes stress towards you. Now I have to juggle between this sport called rugby and my education, or this sport called rugby and my work.
Job,
Yes. So if we're looking at it from a perspective of let the union take care of the players, the players will take care of the union.
Yeah, sure. Bars.
That I can tell you.
That's bars. Sure. Before we let you go, I want to ask, like, guerrilla fighters. Just before we go, like, I want to ask guerrilla fighters, guys, it's FM. What's happening there, man? Like, is it a bunch of Gazis that just come together, like, and just, place of belonging, or like, are you gonna see some initiatives? Are you gonna see some? Because there's also a dire need for black people, black representation across. What's happening there, my brother? what that?
Yeah, guerrilla fighters basically. Okay. It is. We as young, or back then we started the whole guerrilla fighter movement. As young black players, we felt unrecognized, right? So it was a vending platform, right, where we just speak about rugby and where we fit into this whole rugby journey, and eventually it became a thing of, I think it was Waka once upon a time that mentioned the African Stars, a rugby team. Yeah. So I don't know where that conversation ended, but there was a conversation of we need to start like a rugby team for these individuals. And eventually, guerrilla fighters just became a thing of, it's just a bunch of friends because rugby really builds relationships. Most of them, it's either players that played with each other or against each other, built some sort of a relationship with each other, and that's how we grew. Eventually, we got to a point where we wanted to play rugby together. So we targeted things like Day of Dolphins, just as a social, because most of us became family, we became friends now. So and some had never played with each other, so it was a thing of wanneer sal ek in Beyond op 'n span gaan speel? Wanneer sal ek en Simon kan nie op 'n span? We're fortunate enough at United that we played together, but the question started rising. So we're like, why not play Day of Dolphins together? Why not play certain tournaments together?
It's friendly.
Yes, and then it went beyond that. Then we started asking questions of, right, we're going into retirement, most of us. What's the next best thing? So what are we doing to give back to rugby? So it is all talks, nothing yet in black and white, nothing in
Nothing
in full swing in discussion. But it's things that we have. I mean, most of us have boys and so forth. So the idea is that, mind you, our generation was the generation where if you do sports as a black child, to be honest, there's no parents that has time to go sit next to a field and just watch you play. So it became a thing of, we're not going to be the parents that our parents were. We're going to make sure that our kids are taken care of when it comes to rugby, when it comes to sports. It doesn't have to be rugby, to be honest. Sports, we're going to be there next to the field with our cooler box and just enjoy. Make sure that
one thing about the fighters,
the cooler box.
Cooler box.
Yeah. So we just came up with this movement, but individually also, some people started falling out of it. Some people got bought into it because we have new guerrilla fighters also in that. And the idea at the end of the day is we discuss it partly. We want to start a platform where we can give back, where we can actually feel, because imagine being back then at a club like United, right? Or a club like UNAM, where people say that it's a colored club, it's a white club.
A white club,
yes. So sometimes you'd feel left out, and you cry on your cry actually ends on deaf ears. Nobody hears you. So Gorilla started that whole movement of, come on, say for Simon, man, it's fully man, and sometimes talking just allows you to let go of certain things that you could have said to a coach, or you should have said to a player or someone. So you go rather talk to Simon about it after you've already spoken to the coach and nothing has been done. You talk to Simon about it and be like, Joe, man, so and so het gebeur, but you speak to him about it, all he tells you that Kandjou, no gaan weer concert. And no gaan weer concert. And that is how we constantly, and we tease each other a lot.
I know.
If you just make sure you don't get bumped, you don't get a hand off.
You know, like when you're watching rugby and you're sitting with Jimmy, and then Simon is there. You remember when Simon scored that try, second team finals, Wanderers versus UNAM.
Wanderers, yeah.
Funny, Askopaf caught the ball, ran through his defense, and then Jimmy was just like, yeah, the boys. I won't sleep.
You won't hear the end of it.
The Jet Clubhouse.
Sound just like you. It's like Bimbo, when like we yet to hear the news. I understand that he came from the bench against United and he scored a try and he basically changed the game. So we yet to hear of that. This weekend or the past weekends. You won't hear the end of that one as well.
So anyways, thank you so much for joining us, man. And we love chatting to you. Guys, please like, share the video, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff. But thanks, man. I appreciate this. I hope that we can cross paths and just speak more about rugby. And thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, man. Anything for rugby.
Okay.